Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the United States of a Movie Podcast. We're the movie podcast that makes every Monday a fun day as we get together and we talk movies. But we have a point here at the United States of a Movie Podcast because we are the podcast trying to find one movie to define each state in these United States. We've already finished one journey around the states. We're currently on our second, and this week we are stopping in at the state of Oregon, where I'm suddenly starting to think that maybe Oregon has some of the best movies ever made. We'll be getting into that, but before then, let's welcome back my amazing co-host, as always, Ryan Sandler, buddy. Welcome back to the show.
So great to be here. So excited to talk about two of my favorite movies. I can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely crushing it. But honestly, as well, it's actually a pleasure to welcome back. We didn't even expect it. We're getting this podcast in just in time. Will Hirsch back from Tokyo.
Flew in just for this.
Just for that. And then I'm going back in and never looking back. It is nice to be home. I do miss Japan. If you guys listening at home have never gotten to go, I highly recommend it. If nothing else, just for the katsu curry dishes that I had there.
Oh yes,
that was like
food in Tokyo. Oh my god,
that was like touching the face of God. Was eating that. I tell you. Oh my god.
Well, look, we're happy to have you back. We're sorry to bring you back, but at the same time, we're very, very excited. Ryan and I kind of called an audible. We were going to sort of do the episode. We was thinking of bringing a guest on, but we really wanted to talk about these movies with you, Will, and to find out you were here today, we're like, all right, guys, we've got to do it. We've got to record. So last time we went to Oregon, I believe the one we chose as a winner was Nicolas Cage's Pig, right?
Yeah.
A really, really original movie. And I didn't think we'd be able to find an original movie that could match it or top it. But boy, oh boy, did you fellas absolutely nail it with, well, both choices. But Ryan, why don't you tell us about the one that's really hitting with us?
It's one of my, I put this in my S tier movies of last year. So it was Strange Darling, Smile 2, and Substance, the. My three, like I saw these like back to back to back, and I'm like, these are amazing. But I went with JT Molnar's, like, I think he's his first directorial film, maybe first or second one. Man, I lucked out because I knew nothing about this movie. I got to see it in the theaters for like the week it was in theaters. Immediately told everyone about it, and I've just been obsessing about it nonstop. And I fucking love this movie. And watching it again for this podcast, I'm like, yeah, this movie fucking rules. It's amazing.
I remember you just aggressively tweeting about it, and you know when Ryan likes a movie because he'll immediately redesign their poster, you know, and then like tag their director. And I saw you interacting with, I believe, the director and one of the lead actors in this movie as well, kind of on Twitter. So like you're saying, this is actually the second movie. His original first one was 2016's Outlaws and Angels, but this movie blew my tits off. And it's just, I didn't think I was gonna really get into it. Like it started off and it goes a story in 6 chapters, and then it started in chapter 3, and I kind of half rolled my eyes like, oh, someone's trying to do the Tarantino, and I wonder why they do it. It's such a brilliant storytelling choice in this particular case. And the one thing we are going to say right now, all of us, is we will be talking about this movie now. Take it from all of us. This is one of the best movies we've seen in the last year. I agree with Ryan's assessment, is that we're going to spoil this movie. And I'm dead serious, okay? Dead serious. If you really want to have the experience of Strange Darling, you have to pause this podcast and come back to it later. Go find Strange Darling and watch it and then come back, because we would not want you to not have the experience that we had, which is basically going in blind, going, what is this? And at the end of it, you're like, holy shit, what a great movie.
I tell that to everyone. I'm like, just don't even Google it. Just go in blind, like, for the absolute best experience. And yeah, I still think about it. I'm like, even now that I've seen it 4 times, it's still so good, even knowing what's going into it.
It's one of those movies that I would like, you know, as a movie fan, you'd sort of put down, hey, do you want to watch a movie? And you spend the entire time watching your friend watch the movie.
Yeah,
so
sure. I do that all the time. Yeah.
You know, it's like RRR. Actually, very quick aside. Will, thank you for hooking me up with a place where I could get the Blu-ray of RRR. We watched it at my friend's house. They have a movie theater in their house with surround sound. So I've now seen RRR on the big screen, and I did exactly the same thing that everybody does, because their kids were like, what are you watching? Oh, we're going to watch a 3-hour long Indian movie. And I was like, there were eye rolls and stuff like that. I go, you know what? Just sit down. If you want to leave the movie, you just leave. Of course, everybody's sucked in. And I've been like, they've been rewatching the movie since I showed it to them. So it's like, this is...
I showed that movie to my parents, who ostensibly like would never in a million years watch that movie. Because, I mean, you know, nothing. They're not cinemaphiles. But just, I put that on, and we made it through like the first, like to the intermission, and they were like, we got to go to bed because they're jet lagged from New York. But man, they were like engaged in that movie. It's impossible not to love.
But RRR and Strange Darling, it's a movie that you feel like you're giving a gift to. Will, had you seen Strange Darling before we were doing it on the pod? Yeah, so you saw it as well.
I saw it in theaters. Like Ryan was tweeting about it, and I think I pretty much saw it right away afterward. And same thing, tweeted about how much I loved it. The star Kyle Molnar, he like retweeted that.
It's Kyle Gallner.
Kyle Gallner. Oh, sorry.
That's right.
Yeah.
And Kyle Gallner, Willa Fitzgerald, and a bunch of other people,
and Giovanni Ribisi behind the camera.
The movie opens with shot entirely on 35 millimeter. I'm like, yep.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird flex, but I was like, okay. And that was actually the most surprising thing, because I didn't know that until the end, when it was like director of photography, Giovanni Ribisi. I was like, what? Like, produced by Giovanni Ribisi. I'm what? Okay.
He's also the voice of the podcast.
Yes,
guy.
yes. And if you stay until the end of the credits, that actually then plays. So, okay, look, we've given you enough warning. All right, this is your absolute last opportunity to not have this movie spoiled for you. Now, it's not like there's a massive twist or anything like that, but it's just ingenious. Now, before we get to it, there is another movie that got brought to the table this week. A movie that just unleashed every little bit of nostalgia that was bottled up inside of me. I own this movie on Blu-ray, but I haven't watched it for a long, long time. And fucking hell, what a great movie. Will, what is the other movie that we brought to the table this week?
It's a fantastic sci-fi heartwarming comedy starring local LA fire hero Steve Guttenberg, Short Circuit.
Yes.
Shit, man.
A movie I hadn't seen in probably 25 years, or maybe more. But man, when I put it on, I was like, this hit's still good.
Yeah, it's like slipping on your favorite slippers.
Enjoy it.
Yeah. Fisher Stevens accent, flawless.
You know, we're definitely going to have to get into that.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, like, because I'm kind of like with you, Ryan, is this is a movie I honestly, I was taking notes and then just stopped and I started quoting the movie to the movie. Mm-hmm. It was all of number 5. He's not Johnny 5 until the second one, really.
It's so funny. I forgot about that. Yeah.
So he's number 5. Yeah. But I just knew every single one of his lines. I knew every single one of his jokes and his inflections and everything. I knew the music. You know, that opening of the movie, and where they're all being built. And I'm like, okay, I know everything about this movie. But I didn't notice until this watch that every single line of Fisher Stevens is actually hilarious. Almost every line is a wrong line. He says the wrong idiom. Sure. He makes the wrong and it was really, really funny. He also has a flawless Indian accent. And to be honest, I thought Fisher Stevens was Indian because this was my introduction to him.
You have that conversation with anyone who's like our age that saw this movie when we were younger, and you'd be hard pressed to find anyone that didn't know Fisher Stevens wasn't of Indian descent.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty brown as well. I'm like, they have browned him up. It is right on the edge of inappropriate, but it's such a great characterization. It's not like the joke is not that he's Indian and isn't that hilarious. It just adds a twist to his. It's just a little thing. I don't find it insulting. I don't think it's being insulting.
Well, his character is originally from Bakersfield, so it's okay. It's
and his family's from Pittsburgh as well.
Yeah, watching it through like a modern lens, like of thinking of this movie and today, like, ooh, that'd be tough. But in '87, you're like, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
You know?
1986. Okay, this
86.
movie, like, so if you're like, so I'm Xennial, you know, to Gen X's, to like older millennials, this movie crushed. As a kid, I had this on VHS. I've seen it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
It is, and I was worried that maybe it's kind of one of those silly kids movies. As soon as I started watching it, I mean, I was texting you guys, and man, the writing on this is a tight movie. This is fun. This is funny. This is heartfelt.
It's fucking charming too. Like I thought it was gonna be cheesy and saccharine, like rose tinted glasses, like we always say. But man, like nonstop, I had a fucking smile on my face from beginning to end.
Yeah, this movie fires on all cylinders, like from the get go. It's so
it
much
doesn't
fun to
waste
watch.
a second. I mean, it starts off with like, you know, as soon as it happened, I go, oh yeah, that's right. But it's a whole bunch of military vehicles turn up, and then these robots, they just kill everybody. And then you get the reveal of, oh, it's mannequins. Because it's kind of like, if you watch that through the lens of, oh, we've just killed like 30 people. As a child, you're like, oh, wow. And then you notice, okay, yeah, it's the 80s. And then suddenly, so we get the reveal. So, okay, if you haven't seen the movie Short Circuit, it tells the story of one of 5 robots, a Saint, a strategic artificially intelligent nuclear transport, which is just honestly a silly name for a bunch of adorable robots. But one of them,
Daryl is what you're trying to say.
it's not Daryl. Data analyzing robot youth life form. But in this case, number 5 of the 5, he's still connected, and it's just a classic trope, but struck by lightning. But struck by lightning overloads his circuits, and it brings him to life. It brings him the idea of sentience, or at least initially. But he's like kind of like a baby at first.
I was gonna say he's just like a baby. He's like, whoa! It's just so like
Oh,
wide-eyed to the world, everything.
And then so it's honestly, actually, he comes from a place. Nova is based in Washington, but the whole movie takes place in Astoria, Oregon, which is infamous for also being where the Goonies and Kindergarten Cop are both shot as well. It's weird how, because I know the Goonies shot for shot, you know, you never see that bridge in the Goonies, and it's a main feature in Short Circuit. So I never they don't look like the same place. Even
No
though,
one parachutes off of that bridge in Goonies.
yeah, they should have. Chunk should have done that, or at least Data. Data would have
for
definitely
Yes.
would have had.
You could see Data getting like an internship at Nova
Yeah.
to build the next batch of robots.
That makes sense. So yeah, so basically, number 5, the robot gets struck. And just through complete coincidence of all the other robots that are at Nova, most of them are honestly just either making cocktails or serving drinks. But he ends up outside of the facility. He ends up randomly making friends with Ali Sheedy, who is definitely part of my sexual awakening as a teenager, but she's so cute in this movie.
Adorable, yeah.
And she sort of teaches number 5 how to be or how to understand humanity. Then she convinces other people that he's alive, and essentially it's a chase movie where they're either trying to capture or destroy this robot who's discovering life.
Because in the eyes of the military and Nova, this machine is it's a killing machine. It's made to be like this military weapon. So they're like, no, we got to get this thing back because it's malfunctioning. It could just fucking kill everything. But meanwhile, that's not really the case at all. He's just learning how to dance and watch the Three Stooges.
Yeah, he's just exactly. He's watching TV. He's reading every encyclopedia in the book. The encyclopedia thing is just so classic. I'm just like, man,
More input.
Yeah, but then I also realized just how much of this movie, like, there are things from this movie I still say all the time to this day. I just didn't realize how much of a cultural impact Short Circuit had on my life, and it was such a joy to watch it, to the point I kind of feel like I need to make my kids. And I now have a German exchange student. I may have talked about this on the podcast, but I've got Tilde as well now, who's loving, like, she doesn't know so many American movies. She's like, oh no, I've never seen The Matrix. And like, no, I've never seen Indiana Jones. And I'm like, Tilde, we're going to be so busy for the next 6 months. But this is one of those ones. You should come watch this movie. This is great.
You've only shown her the Terrifier movies. That's all she's watched so far.
Dude.
She'd be like, I don't see the problem with this.
Yes. This is a great, normal movie.
This documentary, yes.
So this movie also stars Steve Guttenberg. So Steve Guttenberg is kind of like the nerd that has basically created this robot. He's Newton Crosby. His buddy is Fisher Stevens, who is Ben Japatuya. And like I said, Ali Sheedy is Stephanie Speck. So it's pretty actually, it's a really contained movie. It's a very tight 90. It's a very simple, and it's sort of like some points it kind of almost felt like, I wrote at one point when it's the chase towards the end, is it's very A-Team in a way. In some cases,
the helicopter chasing him.
Yes, right? Exactly. I'm like, oh, it feels like an A-Team, and everyone's like firing guns, but no one's dying. Right. You know, that kind of vibe. But
TV violence, yeah.
But like, so for you guys, what's your experience of this? Because like I told you, mine is I owned it on VHS, watched it 1,000 times.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is probably a movie that my older brother had showed me because it came out in 86. So
is this one of those ones you saw the sequel first, or did you see this one?
It's possible, just because the sequel was on constantly. I don't even remember the sequel. Like, I don't remember how he got to New York. I don't remember why Steve Guttenberg is not in that one.
He goes to visit.
His mom left him at the hotel in New York, and then he's like hanging out, and the Wet Bandits. Wait, no, I'm getting that.
No, that's Home Alone. See, that's right. That's right.
But yeah, I mean, I'd seen the sequel many, many times. I just don't remember. Like, I remember bits of it, but plot wise. But no,
it's the one that made me cry. Because
he bleeds.
Oh, he is very, very gonna die. And like, is it Michael McKean, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's actually
like an electronics store.
Yeah, it's right? No, he's basically he gets in that guy. No, Michael McKean. You know what? Why are we talking about the second? We're going to talk about the first one.
But yeah, no, I was so fond of this movie. But it was on. I'm sure we had it on VHS, but like I obsessed about this movie. I loved it so much.
Like, Will, when did you discover this one?
This is when I probably got it from a video rental store, like a video update or something, because I saw it when I was really young, and it's pretty easy to convince me at any age to be like, hey, this is a movie about a robot. Do you want to watch it? And I'll be like, yes. So it was not a hard sell for me. And yeah, this became like one of my favorite like childhood movies. I also haven't watched it in a bit, but the sequel, I remember the sequel being on like TNT or something, like constantly, like every day. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why I just always assume like, oh, he's Johnny Five throughout the entire thing.
Right.
And then, yeah, it's weirdly like that Ridley Scott Robin Hood movie where he doesn't go by Robin Hood until like the last 2 minutes, and you're like, well, what? Okay.
Yeah, I know, it's right, because he's not Robin of Locksley in that one. That's one of those, like, it's like somebody, this is not my line, but it was some comment on Reddit or some Twitter where it was like, whenever Ridley Scott makes a movie, the movie gods toss a coin. You're either getting absolute gold, or you're just getting an interesting like misfire. And I always say a lot of the time it lands on gold, but like, Robin Hood was one of those ones that I'm watching it just going, I feel nothing.
That's with Russell Crowe, right?
Yeah, Russell Crowe, Kate Blanchett. It's got everything you would expect.
I forgot that exists too. Like,
many people have.
Yeah. It's no Kingdom of Heaven.
But it literally ends with him being like, what am I, some kind of Robin Hood?
Yeah. You're pretty good. Credits. What was your name? It's like the RoboCop ending. Like, what was your name again?
RoboCop. So I'm seeing here that Fisher Stevens was originally hired, but the character wasn't intended to be Indian. He was actually fired and replaced by Bronson Pinchot. So Achwell Foley, Achwell,
famously Indian,
well, like he's not Indian either, but he left to do a sitcom. So Stevens was rehired. Now here, to play the role, he had to grow a beard, dye his hair black, darken his skin with makeup, turn his blue eyes brown with contact lenses, speak in an East Indian accent, and walk hunched over like a cricket player.
And start dating Michelle Pfeiffer.
Wait, that's right. But then, so interesting enough, so like we're talking about like, the vibe of this whole thing. Aziz Ansari, who like honestly, if the movie was made today, would probably play the role. He actually had a chat with Fisher Stevens, and it's that same vibe. It's like, no, it's not a bad guy. It wasn't a tied stereotype. You didn't do a bad job, but everyone agrees if we made the movie today, we should probably get an Indian person to do it.
Sure.
So like I said, it's not controversial. When you're watching it, he's just a fun character. But like I said, when I saw Fisher Stevens in other like he was in that TV show about like the newspaper that got delivered every morning and stuff like that, like for the next day.
Early edition. Yeah.
I'm like, that's that guy, but he's like super white. Like,
from Hackers, and when someone's like, that's the guy from Short Circuit, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. No way. Like over a decade later.
One character, so one person that we also should be talking about is Captain Schroeder by G.W. Bailey, who's that we've two people from the Police Academy series in this movie as well.
Yeah, if you ever needed like a dickhead cop or security guard, like he was your go-to in the 80s.
Oh,
he's got one trick, but he does it really well.
Yeah.
You are not wrong. The guy crushes it in this. Move it, move it, move it. Like
that's his tagline. Like I think he does that in all of his movies, right?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah,
I think
I'm sure
so
he did it in
too.
Mannequin 2. Or not Mannequin 2, Back on the Loose, just Mannequin also. Though he might also be a Mannequin 2. I don't remember.
I'm going to look it up. I'm looking it up. Film and TV. Well, he's done a lot of stuff. Yeah. Police Academy 2, Short Circuit, Mannequin. You were right. All the Police Academies. Doesn't say Mannequin 2. Ace Ventura. Oh my God, he's in Ace Ventura When Nature Calls. I don't remember that.
He's the dog.
He's in Stargirl in 2022, and he was in an episode of Cupcake Wars, which my buddy hosted. How interesting. He's still alive. He's also from Texas. That makes sense.
Oh shit.
All right, so
get him on the pod.
Yeah, absolutely. So Short Circuit. It's like I said, it's a very simple movie. It's just incessantly charming. So the chase goes on. He jumps off a bridge. He parachutes and ends up on the roof of a food truck, which is Stephanie, played by Ali Sheedy, and she is just the ultimate kind of like cat lady. She's basically Ace Ventura. You go into a house, there's a skunk, there's a dog,
there's a wild array of animals in there, and she's on the phone. She's like, "No, I can't. I won't take any more snakes or some shit like that."
that house has got to smell.
My first thought was how horrendous this. The good thing, number 5 can't smell, but oof.
That was my whole thought.
And I remember too, like you get this almost, horror movie type of scene where she hears a rustling in the truck and she goes out there and it's these red lights.
Yeah, it's like E.T. It's like so many of those things. So she assumes at first that this is an alien. So she's like, "Welcome to my planet," and she brings in number 5. And like we're saying, number 5 at this point is like a baby. Like
when she finds out he's not an alien, she's so fucking pissed.
Yeah, right. Well, because she is like very much an Oregonian kind of.
She's a granola
hippie.
For sure.
Yeah, yep. So where she has that phone call with Nova. And she's like, you can go back to your nuclear warheads or whatever. Yeah, so she's got that whole vibe. But it's a vibe I like. And it's like, so what she does is then sort of like, at this point, number 5 is just, I need input. And so, but she starts giving him books and he starts reading books. And it's really well, the way that the robot works, it's very well done.
It's like, the practical work, comparing this to like Chopping Mall, for lack of a better word. I forgot, like thinking how good all of the practical stuff was. All of the robots. Like you're right, like him flipping through the book, but just like the amount of emotion they can convey with his like eyebrow flaps, it's amazing. And it's still holds up so well. It's fantastic design.
So, but designed by Sid Mead, and if that's a familiar name to you, that's he's one of the most famous sort of concept artists.
The sloth from the
yes, but like he's responsible for the look of things like Blade Runner and Aliens and Tron, and so and there was actually some chat that went into the way that the robot looked. There was a little bit of disagreement because they're like, no, he needs to have eyes and he needs to have sort of expression, which is why they came up with like the eyebrows, but everything needs to have a reason for it. So they're like, no, it's okay. It's a sunshade and it helps protect the lenses kind of stuff. And the way, that's one of the first things they sort of they do when he's become alive is he sees a butterfly and he's got such great sounds.
So many,
and he starts doing the little butterfly thing.
It's adorable. It
is adorable. And it completely gets you immediately.
Every single kid watching this movie at that age wanted this robot. Right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like the puppetry on it was astounding. Like when he's like putting his arm back on, I was literally watching it like, How are they
when they're doing the Three
that?
Stooges bit? Like, it's so good.
Yep.
Like, for that time is crazy.
The coin flip too. I'm just like, that's multiple different types of VFX going on there.
I was
really good.
You guys, I'm so glad you guys are bringing this up, because yes, I was obsessed with watching this movie, and you realize that they're just pulling multiple magic tricks on us. You know, to make this, hey, it's our favorite dog guest has made an appearance. Hello, Achilles. Is that, just throughout the movie, I'm asking myself these same questions. Wow, how'd they pull that gag off? Like, you're nailing it. We'll jump ahead. But yeah, we reprogrammed 3 of the robots and they're doing a Three Stooges bit. You're like, wow, that's really good. The bit I actually noticed on my Blu-ray during the coin toss.
Yeah,
I could see the thinnest little thing in from the side. But it was still like, well, how are they making it flip? Are they speeding up that shot? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it's all selling the whole thing of... Because exactly, I mean, perfect is like chopping board. You've seen so many movies where the robot just looks like shit, or it looks like it doesn't move.
It's just a remote control, like it's just the tracks, like that one, yeah.
Right.
And in this case, his arms, the articulation, it's so fucking good.
And it's like, but like, you know, right at the beginning when they're still being demoed, and it's like one of them smashes an ice cube, another one makes a cocktail, squeezes the lime, hands it over. Like the flow of the editing and the gags next to each other, you're just convinced. Okay.
It's impressive. It's still impressive.
I genuinely
not expecting that.
And that, you know, this is 1986, so we're only like, 38 years later. And it's like, how many times we talked about it, but this is proof again in the pudding. I think far too often, far too much people rely on CGI. And I think it's always better when it's practical. And I think one of the best examples of a modern movie that's gone practical in a way that feels so real was The Substance. The Substance was just like, it's like head and shoulders above, because it's like, this is nuts. Yeah. And honestly, go and find a 30-minute behind the scenes making of The Substance.
I was amazed. I already loved that movie, and then watching that fucking blew me away.
I couldn't believe
I was just gonna say, I'm like, I couldn't believe just how much of that stuff was practical. Like, it's mind blowing.
Yeah. By the end of that, she's like my new favorite director. But yeah, I mean, I didn't take many notes because I'm just enjoying the absolute living daylights.
We all know this movie by heart.
But it's like, that's the one thing I said is like, so one of the very first notes I have is just that number 5 is instantly likable.
I had this moment where without a doubt. And then throughout the film, and I, for some reason, thought Fisher Stevens' character was in this movie way more, but I must have been thinking of the sequel, because he's not in this movie a ton.
But he's in it more than I thought. But yes, he's the main part of the sequel. But it's like, he's got, when he says, instead of bingo, he says bimbo. And it's like, and then just like all these little things start kicking in. Like every time I see a Dr. Pepper, what do I say? In his voice, wouldn't you like to be a pepper too? You know what I mean? It's just like, this stuff is just ingrained in my DNA. And it was like, I cannot remember where this line came in. I even texted to you guys, but it was, oh, that's right. So this movie, like I said, set in Oregon, and Ali Sheedy's character, she goes, this is where you are, Oregon, home of the beaver, famous for cherries. And I'm like, is that the state motto of Oregon? Home of the beaver, now. Famous for cherries.
Yeah. Like Will says, state bird, the mosquito.
The mosquito.
And it was like, oh, what's the thing he says about dogs? That's right. It's like, again, I remember a thing that my brother and I would say all the time when we'd see a dog, and it says, mammal, canine, dog.
The bit like, that turn when he is like observing all of the animals, like you get the dog, but then you get the grasshopper, which he then mimics, which again, the practical shot of him jumping up and down like that. Yeah, you can tell it's a little bit of a wire, but still, like, even like bad practical effects are still infinitely better than bad CGI.
And it's like, what helps the shot is that Ali Sheedy's in the shot as well. So you can tell it's not like stop motion or anything else like that. It's all practical.
But that was his like disassemble realization. Like, shit.
I say that all the time as well. Like, something's broken, I'm like, reassemble, Stephanie. Reassemble. But you're right. Is that so basically number 5 accidentally crushes this
existential crisis.
Yes, because Ali Sheedy is like, he's like, reassemble, Stephanie, and she's like, I can't. Sorry, he's dead. When you're dead, you're dead. That's just the way it is.
Pretty cold, like to if you think of her like having this conversation with a child. It's like, wow.
That's why that's why she has all those cats, guys. Yeah. But like, very soon after, she's like, I've called Nova. They're going to come get you. And he's like, oh, what are they going to do? Oh, well, they're going to take you apart and figure out what's wrong. And he's like, wait, disassemble.
Apart.
You know, and it's like, it's the bit where he goes, take apart, disassemble, dead, disassemble number 5, dead. And it's like, but it's when it's so adorable that when he's scared, you know, no, disassemble number 5.
He is effectively a child in this film. He's not like watching it through that. I was like, oh, that's probably why I resonated with it so much as a kid, because you can empathize with this robot. Like,
yeah, and you're like, he's just cute. I know, you know, you completely discount that this is the middle of the Cold War. I mean, they even say it in the movie that their job is to parachute behind enemy lines after the first strike. And then what do they say? Roll a 65 megaton right up Main Street, Moscow. You know, these things are just death machines. But as a kid, we were like, he's adorable. Yeah, he's got a laser. Oh, you must have noticed, I mean, the sound wise, but the sound effect of his laser firing is the sound effect of the proton pack from Ghostbusters at the same time.
Oh, yeah. I thought that sounded familiar, yeah.
I was like,
that's good.
Good sound
that
effect.
made me laugh.
That was back when there were only like 4 sound effects.
Yeah. No Wilhelm scream, though.
No, but yeah, it was always so funny to me that these were like nuclear, like armed weapons. I'm just like, why? Like, and also no, because like how small the launcher is. I'm just like, no, but all right.
I suppose they just carry it in their arm. But I mean, it probably no surprise to you then that this is also the same director of another nuclear themed sort of technology movie, War Games.
Right? Yeah, for sure.
Which did we do that on the pod when we did Washington?
No.
We're thinking about it though, aren't we? I think that was set in Washington, but like, but yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. It's like it's one of those Cold War themed comedies that you'd get in the 80s. You know, it's like
just like Red Dawn. It's hilarious.
Yeah. But yeah, it's very much the journey of this robot that, like you're saying, has this existential life crisis, and then is fundamentally just fighting to want to live. He wants to live. Ali Sheedy's character is immediately convinced of that he's alive, and it takes almost the entire movie for her to finally kind of like get Steve Gutenberg, the creator of said robot, on board. Like, he does his own Turing test. He's up all night, where they suddenly drive from Oregon to California, and that very famous, you know, Will knows it from Star Trek.
The,
you know,
the Vasquez rocks. Yeah,
I know it from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Yes, there you go.
From basically every movie ever made, where I was like, oh, I guess they ran out of budget for Oregon, and they were like, just go. I mean,
that's what I was saying. I was like, how far is this drive? Because halfway through, he's like, all right, I got to go back.
Yeah,
make it seem like it's an hour. I'm sure that's days, right?
That was the interesting thing. Yeah, funny. I've never noticed that before watching the movie. But yes, they've driven so far from Oregon that they're in a desert in California, and she falls asleep. And number 5, I guess, on his tracks, goes all the way back, finds Steve Gutenberg, and brings him back. And I'm like, did he just roll 700 miles?
And she slept the whole time? And how does he realize that he's human? He tells a shitty fucking joke.
He does. Yeah. He does.
That laugh is great.
Well, actually, so the guy that does the voice of number 5, let me bring it up quickly. Tim Blaney. He's the voice actor. He was the pug from Men in Black, you know, the little thing, but he just does so many great voices. And that's kind of the fun thing about number 5, is because he's educated himself by watching TV overnight.
Yeah.
When he's doing his John Wayne, when he's doing his, soup, a meal in a can. Yeah. You know, he's like, he can always...
He would definitely have a podcast now.
Yeah, I bet he does.
Well, as I was saying, like, these days, he would just, like, fall down a right-wing rabbit hole, and Johnny Five would just be quoting Joe Rogan. Like
I said, man, don't roll that into existence.
Ivermectin for everything.
No.
It's like, oh, God.
He's a puppeteer.
I was going to say, I think he also puppeteered the Johnny Five. Right?
He's a puppeteer in The Abyss. He's a puppeteer in Men in Black movies, Team America World Police, forgetting Sarah Marshall. So he would have been one of the things from the musical that he does. He's in the Muppets and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, this guy, but what he brings to number 5. Here's a question. All right. I want to pose to you guys, because I was watching and going, I wonder how they're doing this. It's because they've got the lasers on his mouth that are sort of moving when he talks. And so much of their conversation is like with the actors. At one point, like Steve Gutenberg, like, a beautiful stars, better see. He does an exact copy of what short circuit stuff. So I'm saying is, I guess my question is, I don't think any of it's ADR'd. I think that he's on set giving these lines.
I would imagine so. Yeah, for sure. It seems like they're acting against one another.
Yeah, he's definitely giving the lines probably on the day, but as far as ADR goes, this whole movie is ADR.
Yeah.
Like this movie is ADR to hell. I
imagine outdoors for sure.
I imagine it's the outdoors. I imagine the robot was super loud as it moved. I just imagine there was from the get-go, they're like, there is no way we're getting any usable sound in this whole film.
Christopher Nolan's taking notes.
Well, I was about to say, I said, do you reckon it was kind of like a Tars vibe? You know, that they had the guy like literally there kind of thing. But honestly, that's what I mean. Is like, it's because, again, it added a sense of just believability to it all because they're just talking to the robot and interacting and like joking and dancing. Like,
and they're in scenes together. Like, it's not, there's
face
no
to face.
Yeah. It's so real. Like, they're animating this puppet like for real in the scene, and it's so good.
Like, a pretty impressive bit was where number 5's come back. He's back at Ali Sheedy's place, and he's watching Saturday Night Fever. And he's like, he's doing his dancing and stuff, but then dances with Stephanie.
Yeah, that was a scene.
There was interestingly, there is a lot of sexual tension between number 5.
More than I remember.
Yeah. That I'm like, wow.
There's a part where I'm like, are they gonna
fuck?
Well, I mean, listen. The next morning,
the script,
the next morning, he makes her breakfast. So yes. I think that's
another
pretty
thing
conclusive
too.
evidence.
Like that bit of him reading the ingredients, making like Tooch throws all the eggs in there. That was so funny to me.
Dude, it's still funny. Exactly, brown on one side, then turn over. That's exactly another one. Exactly when he does all the spinning, like he's mixing and it goes everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most quoted lines my younger brother and I would do is that anytime we were making like anything at home and I go, still lumpy.
Imagine having to clean all that shit up off of this very expensive robot, like to the next scene.
Although I did notice, like, so they're using store-bought eggs. She has chickens. Like, what is up with this lady?
Well,
like
she's not enslaving the chickens for the butt nuggets. You know, she lets them live free. You know, actually, you're right, Will, because now she's doing the ones that are kept prisoner and forced to give eggs. Okay?
I'm not following her ethics on this, like, very well. But
you have any idea how expensive eggs are right now?
Dude, that's true.
I'm actually getting chickens at some point this week. I was supposed to get them today. But I'm doing a podcast instead. But yeah, no, we have.
You're
chickens.
Literally counting your chickens before you roost.
But yeah, exactly. We're getting chickens so that we can try and offset some of that cost.
First it starts with chickens, ends with a fucking doomsday bunker.
Yeah. Well, we would have the bunker if I wasn't like sitting on a giant pile of limestone. So trust that's why, like, if a tornado ever comes over here, we're just like, welp, nice knowing you guys.
I'll come back for you.
But this is also one of those classic sort of 80s movies where they like to scar the children because everyone is armed to the teeth. People are firing guns everywhere. And then
the
at
shitty
the end,
boyfriend. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, let's talk about the piece of shit boyfriend. Oh man, I mean, like, I remembered that guy. I just remembered the uppance he was going to get come. And also the thing is that, like, I remember getting kind of like a little upset as a kid. It's because he's driving a red version of the Trans Am from Smokey and the Bandit, one of my favorite movies ever made. Also my favorite car as a child. And so
unfamiliar with this movie.
I'm going to get you with this one. But when number 5 pulls it apart, I remember being, I'm like, oh my God, but it's so satisfying.
He does that so quickly. It's crazy.
But I love it because you're just like, okay, well, number 5. You know,
that's funny. Like, I mean, it's that scene where he comes out and he sees his car literally disassembled in pieces, like neatly organized outside in the front lawn. I imagine like her neighbors watching this happen, like, what the fuck is going on? As the Goonies are in the background, just bike riding.
Just the neighbors are like, this is the weirdest neighborhood. I swear.
But yeah, like this, so he's just like, honestly, he's just like every sort of like proto douchebag that honestly exists in the world. Like,
very 80s for sure.
Yeah, treats her like crap, saying you're welcome. Was it like
he was threatening to he's like, you got to put the dog down. He's on his last legs. I think this dog also had 3 legs, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, the dog Beasley or whatever his name
did have
3 legs.
Adorable.
I think the guy we're talking about is Brian McNamara.
The hero of the film.
Yeah, he plays such a douche, and he's just being so mean. Like it's just like he pulls a gun, brings a gun to number five. But it's one of those satisfying things as a kid is then when number five goes all Bruce Lee on him, like, and he's zapping him with the laser. And
but it's him holding that pipe and like shooting pieces.
An
off
incredible
of it.
special effect. This is exactly what I want to talk about. There's that moment where, number five takes chunks off the thing he's holding, then takes the thing off his hat. They zap the things off the bottom of his boots and then pop his belt off. And I'm watching, they're setting off practical things on this guy. There are sparks coming off and things like that. And I'm like, whoa, man, that's pretty impressive.
There were no regulations back then, so.
Well, I was gonna say this guy definitely like burned his crotch off, like for the sake of this film, and thank God he did.
He was a bad guy. He's a bad guy.
Yeah, he deserved it. But like, and so right as the movie sort of goes, so it's a bit of a chase, but it doesn't go on very long. We finally get Gutenberg connected with number five and Ali Sheedy. He discovers that number five is alive. Bad guys turn up, kill him. And then we get the reveal at the end that he's not dead.
Yeah.
And it's like...
I forgot about that too. I'm like, oh, shit, they just blow him up? I'm like, oh, because there's a scene when...
they establish it all, though.
There's a scene where Steve Gutenberg and Fisher Stevens' character take the van, but they also take one of the robots with them. So you know that there's a backup one in that truck. So when you see him fucking fly off and these things go, I don't know, 200 miles an hour, he's outrunning a helicopter.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
Well,
but it's sad. Like seeing this kid, you're like, no,
and everyone's celebrating and everyone's picking up bits of him and stuff like that. And it's like
that was actually killing me. Is all the like soldiers like they were like, oh, they would pick up something, and then I'm like, where are they marching to? They're just falling out.
We've done it.
Yeah,
there's a couple of times where you brought up like the speed of these robots kind of thing. Is there's a couple of times where he launches. Like one in particular is pretty incredible effect where it's where they're at the Black Lion Inn and they escape and he goes through the wall at like 100 miles an hour. And like, I guess he must have been on some sort of wire. It just pulls him through the door. But then the female stunt person comes running out right after it. And again, practice. She actually trips on her way out. But I'm just watching. It's like, because there's so much to like about this movie.
Scene. But I think it's before that. It's the Rambo First Blood scene where it's the other robots are hunting him, but then he gets the upper hand. It's so fucking good.
I mean,
and these robots are like so terrible at aiming that like you think these are military robots. They're so bad at hitting.
Well, actually, I mean, if you're listening, like I believe that when they are coming for him, you hear them repeating their programming of like apprehend, do not destroy.
Oh, okay.
So they're trying to catch him.
Perfect movie.
So there you go. No loophole. No, nothing. But that bit is great. I mean, I think for me as a child, if anybody sort of said Short Circuit, my number one quote is, "Hey, laser lips, your mother was a snowblower," and it's just like
that's a great burn.
Really good.
Oh my god, I'm just. And it's right towards the end that. So I've often talked about my son doesn't really like to watch movies unless he's watched them once before. But it was actually as I came in and like he goes, "Oh, is this Short Circuit?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I watched this at school." And I was like, "Do you like it?" He goes, "Yeah, it's cool." I'm like, "Yeah," it's a great movie. But this is.
Was he smoking a cigarette? He goes later, nerd, and he just leaves. I'm gonna go hang out with some chicks. Enjoy your Short Circuit.
So, well, like we were actually talking about, like so the robot thing. So apparently, like when it comes to the movie's budget is like about $15 million. Is that honestly one of the most expensive parts of the movie is the robot, is number five, because they create so many different like interchangeable heads. So you can get moments where the eyes come out, or you can get moments where he reacts, and it's same thing with the arms and stuff like that.
All the military gear and all the extras, like there's a ton in this movie. Like that, the opening scene when they're at that at the party and there's all the robots going around having hors d'oeuvres and canapes and cocktails and stuff, like all these robots. Like I love when he's first trying to escape that place and he's following the other little robot and he's just like, you can tell he's just kind of turned on by it. He's like, What's your deal? What are you doing here? What are you doing
Are
later?
you a snowblower?
Yeah, you come here often, or like,
from blow to suck. But like they got, so apparently, so, you know, there are times when you're seeing the robot and the robots are moving, and, you know, the film, you know, fan of you or the filmmaker in you, you're realizing, okay, they're not puppeting that. So it turns out that, like, the puppeteers were off camera, they're wearing a rig filled with sensors that when they move their arms,
okay,
the robots
That
move
makes
their
sense.
arms and move their hands, which is why they're able to. So, like
so
said,
cool.
so that's why the robot is not so much specifically designed to look a certain way; it's also designed to work.
Function, yeah.
You know, it's a functional. They've thought about why would this happen,
But
and
that
where
one,
are
like playing the
actuators?
piano at the beginning,
Yeah, ding 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 ding, and then he just flips him off.
Keep practicing. Yeah.
I forgot to. So the director we're talking about, Badham, he also not only did direct War Games, but he also directed Saturday Night Fever, which is why when they
Another
use it,
famous robot movie.
but when they use it in the movie and they have number 5 dancing to
Right,
it, it's kind
okay,
of like an
yeah.
in joke of the fact that this is actually the same director referencing his own movie in his movie.
Got it. But man, that dancing, her dancing with that robot, that was like, there's so many great moments when you're just, you're in disbelief that, like, how the fuck did they do this?
Yeah.
Like, and it's not stilted and it's not slow and they didn't speed up the camera. I mean, for this particular scene, but man, it's just like, it looks so good and feels so real.
Yeah, when he dips her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? More than a woman to me. Sorry, I just knew.
And then when he rolls up on her in the bathtub, that was hysterical. I'm like,
Yeah.
and she's just like super chill with it.
Yeah. Which it's the bit where she goes, "You sure don't talk like a robot." You know what I mean? Because he's like, "Oh, Stephanie, nice software."
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, that was that was a great line.
But it's that for me is in the movies when she goes, "You don't talk like a human." She's got like this robot, that look on her face. That's when I think I fell in love.
She's
with
like dripping wet. I'm like, what is there's like a like
Dude,
tumultuous.
I was dripping wet. But like, this is just, I mean, so it won at the Saturn Awards. It got nominated for Best Special Effects. It got nominated for Best Science Fiction, Best Director. It didn't win. But like, oh yeah. And I did have the Commodore 64 video game, for sure. Oh my God. I've just completely gone flashback on that one. But yeah, I in every way, top to bottom, this movie rules.
Yeah,
Like,
I think it's a perfect movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's
think
funny that this movie must have like crushed, and they're like, we got to get a sequel out, and that must have done so horribly that you didn't get like 10 of these movies.
Well, let's look. All right, because yes, of $15 million, its box office was 40 mil. So they did within 2 years. We got a sequel, if I remember.
Well, they had all the robots built. They're like, we might as well fucking use these things.
Yeah. So
Right.
yeah, 88 Short Circuit 2, Fisher Stevens, Michael McKean, $15 million again, made 21 million. So like, yeah, it was just the law of diminishing returns. If they made a third, I honestly think they should bring it back. I think it is time for a Lego sequel, Short Circuit.
I feel like it would just. I don't think it could do anything new to capture that feeling from the first one. Like that was
Nothing
my
could,
thing.
because
Right.
it's this.
Yeah.
It's,
Do you set it in modern times? Like why? Like who would even fucking care? You know,
does he build
Yeah,
himself a child?
Oh jeez. I mean, in an age where, like, you know, I go to my like revolving sushi bar restaurant
Yeah.
and a robot brings me my drink.
Yeah.
It's just not as impressive.
nice software.
It is more satisfying. I was gonna say it is very satisfying.
You're just mad because the
harass
robot.
that way,
Yeah, I was
but-
saying, you're just mad that robot's not hitting on you.
I'll tell you,
like.
tell you one thing I have been doing for the last 2 days is listening to El DeBarge's song. Who's Johnny? She said. It
They play
turns
that
out-
song a lot.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
in the movie 2.5 times, I think.
Yeah.
But you know, back in the good old days, again, like in the 80s, well, we can't release a movie without it having a song, so we're gonna put a song.
Oh,
in.
they made that song for this movie?
Yeah.
Or was that okay?
It's called "Who's Johnny."
So
Yeah, I
that
was
could be
gonna say,
any. That could
the-
be any fucking song.
The lyrics are like literally lines from the movie.
Oh.
It's one of those like it's
Okay.
describing the movie as you're watching it kind of song, which I love.
Your mother is lazy lips, a snowblower. Yeah, no, you're right, absolutely.
Yeah.
This movie though is very Oregon. I'm also going to throw that one out there. It talks a lot
Yeah.
about Oregon. It mentions Oregon. It shoots. I was actually looking up a lot of the locations. That there's a bit where Steve Guttenberg and Fisher Stevens are like, up on
I've
that
been
massive
there in
overlook.
Oregon. Yeah, I've been there. That's
It was
awesome.
beautiful. You know, apart from like I said, the only time really is when they end up, like I said, they shoot in that desert scene, which is
Which I completely forgot about, to be honest with you. Like watching this movie, I'm like, I forgot to go to basically like Joshua Tree or wherever that is. But
But then I think they also, that's the bit where they shoot that whole night scene. You can tell they're doing that in the sound stage. You know,
but that place was
That's
only
fine.
like 40 minutes
Yeah, yeah.
away, so who cares?
yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, it's literally like an hour away from my house.
It's so like the weather, it's very, or like that the scene too in the opening when it's like storming and everything, like that felt very Oregon.
There was a random bit that I again remembered last second where he's thrown his tracking device into the pickup truck with the old couple as they're driving through the Oregon countryside, and they get pulled over, and she's like, "I hope you hit I hope you took the grass out of the whatever it was." It's like I just love that they're both they're both stoners. I was like, that
A
was
criminal offense in the 80s.
Yes.
now it's a criminal offense if you don't. I think have it in Oregon. So like we're saying, this is one of those few, like we've talked about them before here on the show, kind of like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. But I'm definitely with you, just going Short Circuit. There's nothing wrong with it. It really does work. It's a movie for everyone.
Up.
It's a movie that is so good we can forgive the brown face. That's what exactly. It's really easy for three white guys to say that.
Yeah, that was my only negative is rewatching this with a modern lens. I was like, ooh, I forgot how Apu it is, and it just felt a little like, oh boy.
That forgiveness does go away in the sequel though, where it's like it is heavily focused on Fisher Stevens' character.
Right.
You're just
that's
like,
what I remembered. I thought
right.
he was in this so much more. I was like, ooh, but he's not really in it.
We're a little bit like Britta from Community. I can excuse racism, and it's like, you can excuse racism? Well, fortunately, our next movie has no brown face in it. But I tell you what, it's got a lot of red face, a lot of blood, a lot of twists, a lot of turns. Let's get into Strange Darling, a movie that starts at maximum velocity. It just throws you into the middle of the Oregon sort of like forest, much like the stuff that we were kind of seeing when we watched Pig.
Right.
And it starts off, it basically tells the story. All we get introduced is we get each actor, the two main actors, and one is introduced as the lady, and the other one is introduced as the demon. And so it says a story in 6 chapters, and it starts in chapter 3. And
it starts with like a true crime kind of scroll too. It's like, the most infamous serial killer went on a spree, started here, ended up in Oregon, something like that.
Yeah, that's right. So it kind of front loads it by saying, okay, there's a serial killer been on a rampage, and the movie starts with this sort of like a terrified sort of blonde girl bleeding from her head in this sort of little car speeding away from this big, intimidating pickup truck with a dude who is just mainlining cocaine out of a bag while he's like holding his gun and just pursuing this woman with extreme vengeance. And you're just sucked into what you are being told.
And shout out to it being shot on like 35 millimeter film, because this movie looks fucking incredible.
This movie's
the
so
color,
good
like
looking.
it's so dreamlike. Like that opening sequence when he's chasing her and they go into the woods, it's so good. Like
the bit, I know exactly what you're talking about again. And then we're like right now again remind everybody. No, shout out to Giovanni Ribisi, because this is his debut as a cinematographer, and it looks great. I mean, but there's a bit where like you go, Ryan, right towards the beginning. It's a really cool bit where he stops and he takes the shot and shatters the car. Anyway, she runs off and she finds that camp. Like someone's been camping, but she lights a cigarette for just a moment. But it's the way the light is coming through with the trees, and exactly like you're saying, that the way color is processed on film, and it's like the way the smoke was going up into the light.
The car is red. She's wearing a red jumpsuit. His shirt is red. Like it's just so good. And it's funny to me, like she stumbles upon this little camp, finds a pack of cigarettes with a lighter, finds a bottle of vodka. You can tell that she's injured. Does the thing she's going to do, dump the vodka, or she takes a shot of it, dumps it on her wound. And it's just her, I know we'll bring this up later, but her, like the minutia in her acting and her little ticks and twitches and things in this character are so nuanced but so great.
Yeah.
Like just the little shit she does is like,
well, I just think I couldn't place her the whole time. So Willa Fitzgerald, I saw the name and I was like, that's familiar. And I'm watching the movie, but honestly, like I didn't lose time thinking about it because I was so sucked in. But she is the main sort of supporting character of Reacher season 1. So, which I was like, oh my God, of course.
She looks completely different.
Well, because exactly, she is a chameleon in this movie, and she is, as an actor as well, incredibly well cast, which was amazing to me when I then went on to read that the sort of some of the money people, the studios tried to get her recast. And I'm like, she is the reason, she's one of two reasons, the two main actors, but she is so good in this movie. Like, so
this
good.
movie almost didn't get made. Like, because of studio interference.
100%. And I was getting into that. You know what? Because let's talk about it. Let's talk about that because, like we told you, that the movie is told out of order. I think it goes like, what does it go like 3,
it's 6 chapters,
2, 5, 1, 6 or something like that. Yeah. It tells it in a really interesting way, which seems like it's going to be annoying, but guys, no, it doesn't. It just gives you a little bit more information every time. And what you're realizing, it's been messing with you. It's been messing with your initial biases. It's been messing with you by the way it's presenting certain scenes. And it's only once the final pieces get put together that you realize you're not watching the movie that you think you are watching. But it got shot down 2 days into filming because the studio was like, we don't like anything you're sending us. This looks like shit. You've got to recast that actress. And like, he stuck with it. He kept going. And like, but even when they wrapped, the studio, without his knowledge, Miramax hired another editor to recut the movie in
chronological order.
In a
like,
linear
are you out of
fashion.
your fucking mind?
And that makes no sense. When you've watched the movie afterwards, you go, if you watch this movie linear, it's just a movie. But telling it like this, it's a movie that's playing with you. And it's sucking you in. And you're like, oh my God. So that when you do get these moments and these reveals, that you're like, what? You know what I mean? Like when we go back to that scene where they're just in the truck and they're discussing. So it starts with a one-night stand, basically. But remember, that whole scene is just blue, right? It's like the neon blue. And then we get another scene when we're in the room and it's like red. It's all like deep red. And then when we're outside, it's all the sun. That we get these like, it's just fucking gorgeous.
It's visually stunning, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think I was telling you guys I watched this the time before last I watched this. I was on a lot of mushrooms. And like just the color, when I saw it in the theater, I was fine. But like seeing this on mushrooms, the colors and everything, I was just like, oh
yeah, I know.
God, this is so intense.
I'm actually like, I've got to come visit. But what I like is kind of what saved the movie is because he had a contractual obligation. They had to screen his version of the movie before they could do anything with it. And so they screen his one, the out of order one, and the audience loved it. And that's what saved this movie. The biggest travesty of this movie is it made 3.8 million on an estimated 4 to 10 million.
Like I said, it was in the theaters, at least out here in Arizona. I saw it maybe on like a Thursday, and the following week I was like, fuck, I'm telling everyone to go see this movie, and I'm looking up times. I'm like, oh, it's not even in the theater anymore. Like it was just came and went.
It is a travesty, and I think it's like, that's why I'm glad we're doing it on this podcast. And I'm like, both of you now that I'm telling everybody, this is a movie. This should have been a bigger movie. People should be talking more about this movie. It's so good. It's so fun. It's so dark, but surprising.
Yeah, I guarantee you what happened was the studio head, whoever was making the decisions, like, to recut it, and then the test screening went really well. I guarantee you the reason why it was only in theaters for a week and a minimal promotion is that studio head, whoever that exec was embarrassed that he was wrong. So it just feels like an intentional, like, bury it.
That's bullshit.
Like it's so to that studio exec, you should find another line of work. You should quit the business and go away. You do not know what you are doing.
I forgot it was a Miramax film too. Like,
yes,
that's why I rewatched it. I'm like,
Miramax never been run by.
I was like, it's weird seeing that logo pop up again.
It was, and you know what? Because Harvey Weinstein is, okay, I'm not going to say it, but it's the only time I've ever cut a word from this show is when someone said the C word. But that, if anyone has ever deserved that moniker, it's that guy. But I won't lie that when Miramax turned up before this movie, it actually got me excited. Because as much of a complete scumbag that guy is, Miramax's history of movies was so many great like classics and movies that I hold dear, and just like these Scorsese flicks and all this kind of stuff. When Miramax turned up, I go, ooh, we're getting into something interesting. So when Miramax rocks up before this, I was already like, okay, all right, we're watching a Miramax movie. This is going to be something different. And boy, oh boy, was it. Now, so this is your last chance, ladies and gentlemen. We're now about to start talking about what this movie is really about. So,
and I'm shocked I didn't even, like, because I was talking about this movie so much, I'm shocked that I didn't spill the beans to you, that you were able to watch this with completely fresh eyes.
And I'm annoyed at myself because the movie, by telling it the way it tells it and by the actors acting it as well as they do, my own biases won. As in, I didn't see it. I was like, it's only when they're like,
that'll show them.
Yeah, but it was like, it was in this moment. It was in the moment when she's like, let's do some cocaine. And I watched what she was up to. And the only thing I wrote down.
The split diopter shot.
But I wrote down, that must be ketamine. I bet that's ketamine. And then 5 minutes later, I'm like, nailed it.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you know your white powders. Sure. Yeah.
Okay. But I can tell you, in my past, once I have come up against ketamine. And I can tell you, for a while, I thought that I was a mushroom. It is like when you realize that's when I like it all kind of clicked into place.
A pivot point in this movie because, you have two unreliable narrators. Like, you don't know where the story is going to go. The way that, it's like an unstructured film like that, and it just gets to that certain point. I was bringing this up because we ran into a similar thing with A Perfect Getaway, who does, like, this movie does everything right, where A Perfect Getaway was kind of stilted in that way. Yeah, and this is just way more efficient way of storytelling.
Yeah, Perfect Getaway's 25-minute black and white flashback. With all its winks. Yeah, go for it.
Sorry, you were just talking about Perfect Getaway, and I was like, is that a movie we watched? Like, what are you talking about? It wasn't until just now I'm like, oh, this is the movie we just watched.
Last episode?
Completely forgotten about this movie.
Yeah.
It has left my brain. It made no impression. There's a smooth spot where that movie was.
This movie does a similar thing where there's like a twist, but you're so caught off guard because of everything that's happened. You're led to believe that Kyle Gallner's character, the demon, he's named the demon, so you're open to a black and white shot of him fucking strangling her, and you're just like, oh no, it's gonna be one of these.
And then the first 40 minutes of the movie, he is an unstoppable force hunting her down. Right. Just like he's coming for her. And he's coming for her with like a twinge of like he really wants to fuck her up.
And maybe some of the best cigarette smoking since John Travolta in Broken Arrow. I've never wanted to smoke a cigarette more than watching Kyle Gallner smoke cigarettes.
Yeah, there was a lot. There was a lot of that. So, okay, here it comes, ladies and gentlemen. It's coming. This is the spoiler. Spoiler. But as I realized, oh shit, like she's the serial killer. The reveal, and I just got there, I was getting there, and then I got there in the moment, like I spotted the ketamine thing. But then the extra reveal when she's like in the bathroom and she's going through his wallet and you see he's a cop. I was like, oh shit! You know what I mean? Like that was the moment.
And her reaction is just like, and just throws it. Yeah.
But like, and then the lid again, and it was that one shot that it gave us, like twice it had established that he's got his backup weapon.
Yeah.
And I jumped. And again, because me, I've talked about it. Sometimes I'm always like, oh, this has happened. I'm picking things up. But I didn't even, I know she's bleeding, but I didn't see it coming. It was, right. I jumped.
You see him in that beginning when they finally decide to go to the hotel room. He's got like a weapon on his,
on his
which
ankle.
leg it is, right?
Yeah.
But then you get that bit where she has him after the ketamine. She takes his shoe off and takes his sock off, and you're like, oh no, she's gonna find the gun. But she only takes one of his socks off to stuff in his mouth.
Oh, and
gross.
And they did, but like there was like a long shot as well. I was like, but that's what I mean is that when that happened, and it. Yeah, I know. I'm actually getting excited just thinking about it. It's just, that's when the movie just goes into like, oh my God. And then I just couldn't wait for like chapter, and then it tells chapter 6, and then I go, please don't go to credits. Please don't go to credits. Please don't go to credits. And then we get an epilogue. But I'm like, this is when I was just, that's what I'm saying is, and I back up Will saying that whichever executive tried to mess with this movie, please just give up. Just do something else with your life. Yeah. Because you are a fucking idiot. Because this movie, and I think everyone is an idiot for not seeing this movie. Yeah. So
their acting is God, because you think of the titles for each chapter, it's like, I think it says Mr. Sniffles or Mr. Snuffles, right? Because they have a safe word for
Mr. Snuffleupagus,
right?
That's the one.
But then, you know, my favorite scene, which I was fucking, well, you know what I'm talking about. Was audibly laughing in the theater when they introduced the mountain people.
Yes.
And it's just Ed Begley Jr. and Barbara Hershey, clearly, I would imagine, on mushrooms.
Yeah.
The overhead shot of him preparing the most unhinged breakfast you've ever seen.
It's now my daily breakfast. So I eat it every day now.
That's right. This whole stick of butter. The eggs, the sausage, the pancakes, more butter on top, the whipped cream, the can of what was it, blueberries or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the Scott Baio poster, amazing.
Yeah, he was great. They were great. I mean, that's the thing. It's a great movie like when I'm taking barely any notes, and I was just so sucked into this. But I had to just a whole stick of butter in eggs. What the fuck?
That's awesome. Yeah.
And then my next line is, Oregonians are weird people. And the thing is, because now, like we're talking about, it's a very, very tight movie of two people, but then we introduce the mountain people. Mm-hmm. Then, you know, as we get the final two chapters, which is honestly chapter 1 and chapter 6, there are now ancillary characters. We understand where she got her jumpsuit. We understand where she got her car, you know, these other people, but they're all kind of like interesting people. You know, that's the thing that I think with Strange Darling, it's giving you that kind of Oregon vibe of, these are people that live up in the mountains. They're kind of like interesting people, weird people. They're all packing, you know, like
she comes out of the bathroom after she's like carved her initials into his chest because he's been like out of commission from the ketamine.
EL, electric lady.
Right. She's like, I've never put it there before. Cool. And then he looks at her and he pulls his service pistol out. Fucking blasts her. She falls down. Like that shot of him just trying to you know, he's still out of it. She runs out and she's like, "Oh my god, he's got a gun!" The guy in the next door, who I think is the director's dad, I want to say Duke Molnar.
Oh, cool.
He's like, "Ah, shit, so do I." Yeah. That's all you get. Yeah. And then she runs into the reception area. And when she finds out the girl's name, she's like, the girl's name is Tanya. She goes, again, twitching. Yeah. Tweaking out of her fucking mind. It's just like gives her the Pinto. She's like, which key is it? It's fucking great. Oh my god.
But that shot from her jumping out of the motel window, running all the way to do that thing, that was one big long shot. Yeah, you know what I mean? There's just so much to love about this movie. And then, like you said, Willa Fitzgerald's, you know, to go from Final Girl to then be You Are the Demon, to then be like just the way she's manipulating people. Oh, and then, you know, so, and like the one that the older sheriff that's like, no, we don't know she's the victim. And because she plays with people, you know, again, I got so shocked because I'm like, all I got is just, oh my God, holy shit, because she bites our protagonist, you know, it bites his jugular off. The effect of him dying with the blood pumping out of his neck.
Squeep.
I'm like, I was astounded. But then, like the wherewithal she has, that she's handcuffed, is to pull down her pants and her underwear.
To look like if she's handcuffed to the refrigerator.
Yeah, genius. And then, of course, the female cop, the guy, the other older grizzled cop,
it's bad police work. It's bad police work. Yeah.
All of his instincts going, no. Like, we don't know anything. This is bad. This is wrong. We're making a mistake. And she's like, what do you think has happened? She's handcuffed. She's half naked. You know, obviously she's the victim. And then boom, they're dead. And I'm like, Jesus. You know?
The woman, she lets the woman go, but she kills him because she's like, you know, she's unhinged. So she's like, you get these moments where she sees the devil, and that's what, like, there's a brief one frame flash, like when she's with the demon, where she sees it, and that's like what turns her. And she sees that same thing in Officer Gomez from Breaking Bad. Michael Quesada, and then she sees it in herself later, and it's just like her acting is so unbelievable in this.
Yeah, I can't imagine why would they try to fight. I'm like, I hope JT Molnar, I hope Willa Fitzgerald, I hope Kyle Garner, I hope you're listening to this podcast.
I tried really hard to reach out to them to get any one of them to join us and talk about
I'm going to tag all of them because you guys blew every single one of our minds. This movie, it's annoying to me. It's not being more talked about, and I'm going to make it my mission to get more people to watch this movie, because even the way it ends, I mean, because you get the extra twist. All right, guys, again, but the extra twist of you think she's about to murder somebody else, but this is Oregon, and she's packing. And
that scene is so funny to me because she has now 3 guns on her.
Yeah,
that was another weird thing. Like when they're patting her down, when they find her handcuffed, they don't find the weapon on her. All right, but then she takes their 2 firearms. So now she's got 3 pistols, and the woman picks her up as like a hitchhiker, and she goes to pull out the gun, shoots her, takes the gun, she goes to pull out another gun, shoots her again. It's so fucking funny. But that one shot, it's just that lingers of her driving and just slowly fades to black and white.
That 5-minute shot of like it's that's how the movie ends, and it's her drifting out of consciousness. If life, I'm getting goosebumps right now just remembering it.
Yeah,
like, I'm just going.
Good.
You just sit there and you go, man. I hope one day I can make one thing that is as good as this is. Yeah. That's how I feel watching Strange Darling. I'm like, it's so good, and it is so Oregon as well. And this is where, like, for me, it's like really interesting because we were blown away by Pig in a kind of similar way.
And to clarify, Pig beat out The Goonies and Stand By Me.
Right.
Like if you tell people that, they would fucking skewer you.
But it's much like we said last year with Pig. We were saying very similar things. Go in blind. It's a very interesting, it's crazy, it's beautiful, it's pretty, it's original, it's going to suck you in. You're going to be talking about it afterwards. That is Strange Darling in exactly the same sort of way. And I love that now we have this sort of 3-way race for who's going to be the champ, because Pig deserves it, Strange Darling deserves it, and Short Circuit deserves it. We've got perfect movie and 2 perfectly original movies all vying for this championship that Oregon right now is like flexing on us because we have got some absolute banger movies. So I'm going to like try and sort of just set this up. It's like, guys, what do you think?
To clarify, like I picked this movie just so
we could watch it.
Just to force it upon you to watch it. Fully knowing I'm like, this probably doesn't stand a chance. I mean, it's a pretty condensed part of Oregon.
It's a compact,
I think it's all shot at like Mount Hood. I want
somewhere,
to say,
yes, the national park or something like that.
Whereas, Short Circuit, you get
Astoria.
It's a much grander thing, even compared to like Pig, which is I think is basically just Portland. Right?
Well, yeah. So what we liked about Pig is that I remember
the culture and the people.
Yes, we got the culture of the people, but we also got the mountain people, but we also got the city people as well. So I see what you're saying with Strange Darling. Strange Darling, it sort of takes place a lot in that sort of mountain area. But what I really liked is the little nuance of all the extra sort of ancillary characters. Kind of like I was saying, is that when these extra characters finally do kind of bleed into the movie, we've got the hippies on
so much
mushrooms.
Backstory.
They're all very established.
It's like she said, old hippie, I'm more of an old biker.
Yeah, right.
Great. That's where she gets the leather jacket. It's awesome.
Oh yeah.
They're also doomsday preppers,
Yeah.
Gosh, so fucking good.
It is tough to kind of like parse this because my instinct again is like, what is more all encompassing? And it's Pig, but I feel like the 2 contenders we have today, just because like all the characters are so different, we get the more variety in the characters, whereas in Pig we get more variety in like the landscape and the architecture.
So, and okay, I'm going to throw something out here. Okay, that with Pig, as much as it's like it takes place in Oregon and we get a lot of sort of the variety in the Portland and everything else, it's just weird to say considering what movie Strange Darling is I'm almost like that Pig doesn't feel real. Remember how there's like an underground fight club for the cooking, and that he's like a John Wickian chef that's like legendary. That it's like, trust me, it doesn't hurt the movie, But I'm like, I'm watching Strange Darling. Strange Darling feels real, even though it is crazy. You know, it's like I said, I can't even believe I'm saying it out loud, but it's like I can see Strange Darling actually happening, whereas Pig is like...
It's crazy that we're saying that. So you're saying the most realistic movie is the one with the child robot.
No, I'm saying Strange Darling is the one. Everyone.
Right, sorry.
But yeah, that's what I mean, is that because Strange Darling is so wild and crazy, and like
for me, it's like my favorite of the three movies, even though like I grew up with Short Circuit, but Strange Darling rewired my brain, and it was such a shame that, not a shame, but I think this Substance came out like 2 weeks later, and I was like,
kind of stole its thunder.
Yeah, and then Smile 2 came out, and I was like, God damn. So, but I was so most excited about. I told everyone about Strange Darling, and then it was a shame that, you know, it didn't get the traction like The Substance did. They're very different films, but I get why.
It hasn't been getting the love. It hasn't been getting like the award love and things like that. When I genuinely think it should be getting
for a relatively low budget film. I mean, I wish it would have done more, and I'm excited to see what this director and Giovanni Ribisi do next. You know?
But I would say that Pig and Strange Darling are like brothers.
Similar worlds, yeah.
If you like one, you're gonna like the other, and they do bring that similar vibe. I was just caught up in the moment thing because I've talked about, like I said, the reason I started this podcast is everything I learned about America I learned from movies, and two of my most watched movies as a child are The Goonies and Short Circuit, and they both are set in Astoria, Oregon.
Yeah.
So my perception of America,
I think those houses are like one street over from one another too,
and they're still there.
Yeah, we'd said originally, like, is that the fucking Goonies house? And like, because I thought that too. I had to look it up, but they're very similar. But no, I think it's same neighborhood.
I think Stephanie's house, it last sold for nearly $400,000. So it's like it comes with the cats as well. So, you know, no, I'm kidding.
Oh, nice.
so
and the skunk.
So where are you landing on this one, Will? Because I'm really like,
I feel like Oregon would celebrate Short Circuit more than they would Pig or Strange Darling. Yeah,
Short Circuit. I almost want to give it to Short Circuit because Astoria in itself is so important to movie history, and that's such an iconic part of Oregon. That I just feel like that if you were to poll people there, that would be their answer. Would be like either Short Circuit or the Goonies. And again, as much as I love Strange Darling, it was one of my favorite movies last year. The Blu-ray should be arriving at my house any minute. But like I feel like Short Circuit.
You're short circuit.
Kind of maybe it's a little unfair because it exists kind of out. Oh, am I?
No, as soon as you said the word Short Circuit, you glitched for a second, and I was just like, Ryan. I go, that's perfect timing.
Oh, big, huge, this long. Anyway, did any of that get cut? But long story short, I'm feeling Short Circuit. Like
really?
That's where I'm.
Like I said, I went into this not thinking Strange Darling would have a leg to traction to roll on. Sorry, I was trying to.
It'd be the three-legged dog in this race. Yeah,
I just wanted you guys to see it. I know Will's already seen it, but I basically just wanted to, much like Barbarian, I just wanted to force you into seeing this film.
Yeah, well, that was good, and I like it that you do. That's what I love about this podcast. But okay, I'm going to take this for a second. So, Will, you're in Team Short Circuit. I personally think I'm on Team Strange Darling. Ryan, where are you sitting now?
I'm leaning more towards Short Circuit, just because.
Really?
Yeah, I think from a geographical standpoint, specifically, like I still feel like Strange Darling. It's got maybe 2 or 3 set pieces. You know, 100%. It's a really like small thing. I know Oregon's a big part of it, but it's not enough for me to be like, this is an Oregon.
Okay. I'll tell you what. I'm going to try one last go.
Let me clarify. For me, this is a movie that's set in Oregon, whereas Short Circuit is like an Oregon movie. That makes sense.
So my argument was going to be the exact opposite. I was going to say Short Circuit is a movie that's set in Oregon, and that Strange Darling is an Oregon movie because
it's intrinsic to the plot. Yeah.
But what I mean is like the thing that for me is kind of the special sauce is what I was saying is that when we do meet these characters that barely are in the movie, they're all feeling very realized, very real, and very Oregonian. Whereas, you know, when we meet Stephanie in Short Circuit, you know,
she's a caricature of a person.
Well, she could just be any granola Californian. She could be any granola, you know, like whatever. And then like Steve Guttenberg he's not from Oregon.
Yeah,
you
none
know,
of them
Fisher
feel like people from Oregon. Yeah, okay.
Or isn't from Oregon. So none of the actual people we're meeting are really Oregonian. I'd almost put money that Stephanie had like moved there. You know what I mean? Whereas you get that vibe, like I said, from the old lady at the end. I say old lady, I mean the older woman at the end of Strange Darling. You know, the cops, the sheriffs that interact with, you know, and like you said, like the guy outside the motel, I got a gun too, kind of thing. It's like, that's where I feel like it's going full Oregon for me. And then, like I said, that with Pig, it didn't feel real, even though it's so very, very.
I just
think it tips it over for me. So that's just me having my say. What did I move the needle for any of you? I'm fine with Short Circuit. I'm just fighting this corner because I believe in it.
I was looking up to see, I'm like, if the director was like from Oregon, I'd be like, oh, for 100%, but I think he was from Las Vegas.
Molnar.
I see. Here's my perspective on it, which is when I saw Strange Darling, I didn't remember that it was like set in Oregon or like anything set Oregon. In fact, I was like, is this Flagstaff? Because it felt very Flagstaff to me.
Yeah.
And so even though the characters do feel more real, I've been to towns like that across the United States. And again, I go back to Short Circuit because Astoria, so much a part of movie history, and it's so iconically Oregon.
Okay. All right, guys. You know what? I'm definitely not unhappy with the choice. I completely see the logic behind it. I totally agree. I just wanted to fight that little corner, but no. All right. That's it. We're done. It's official. The new champion here at the United States of a Movie Podcast, the movie that represents Oregon to the rest of the world, if not the universe, until we come back around another time, is the 1986 movie Short Circuit. It's a treasure. It is fun. It is funny. It's fun for the entire family. It's a movie you're always going to enjoy. It's a Sunday movie. You can bang it on, and trust me, you're going to end up feeling so good. Wow. Short Circuit. Okay.
It killed that pig. So way to go, Johnny 5.
but Oregon,
do, Johnny 5, that'll do.
It's movies, you know, from Oregon have been,
at least until Strange Darling 2 comes out.
Yeah. so we've had, like I said, a lot of, like I said, I felt like it's been very strong, Oregon, for 2 seasons now. I've really enjoyed some of the movies. What are some of the other movies we could bring to the table next time? One that I remember I mentioned, because I've never seen it and only heard good things about it. And I remember you guys even reacting like, ooh, but it was Green Room. Isn't it like that?
Yeah. I almost picked that, but I thought Strange Darling would be a more kind of, you know, interesting film to talk about since it's a little more new.
Well, you were right.
But I love Green Room. Yeah.
Green Room's great. Yeah. I don't remember what my other choices were. I think these were landed on so fast that I don't remember what.
Free Willy was another one. Famously in Oregon.
The Sisters Brothers.
Kindergarten Cop, like you mentioned.
Yes, yeah, Kindergarten Cop we were circling.
Sure. We got to do that next time because I love that movie.
That would be, honestly, that would be quite fun.
Long Legs? Okay. Yeah.
Long Legs was set in Oregon as well.
I think so. Yeah.
Man, Oregon has just got this vibe, man. They turn out some real interesting movies. Ooh, there is a Burt Reynolds movie called Malone that I've never heard of. Click on that one. Ex-CIA hitman breaks down in a small Oregonian town. Ooh, a Burt Reynolds movie playing CIA in Oregon. Guys, we've got a lot of choices.
I think another one that pops up is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
See, this is what I mean.
That's gonna make me sad though.
We could. Oregon is going to be bringing the game for like 3 or 4
We
seasons.
might just stop doing the rest of the states and
just do Oregon, because there is really genuinely really some cool ass movies that we've been doing, and there's some really good ones we can be doing, but now we have to look into the future. We have to look to where we are going next time. I also wanted to forewarn everybody that it's a very interesting time for the podcast. That Will's just been in Japan. Ryan might be in Mexico, and I'm going to be in Thailand for 2 weeks as well. We may have a couple of weeks where we're going to have to sort of bring back some classics if we can't bank some episodes. But the next state that we will be going to is the state of Georgia. Now, when we were talking about this before we started, we were in some ways astonished and flummoxed that Troop Zero won. But I remember that being a really cute movie because we had Deliverance when we were talking about Georgia. Right. We had a Burt Reynolds classic. But while we were talking about which movies we were going to do, we've ended up in a black hole, and the center of that black hole is Burt Reynolds. Guys, can you let's let the guys know, what movies are we bringing to the table to try and take down Troop Zero? Ryan, why don't you bring one in?
I had never seen Smokey and the Bandit. The only thing I know is Smokey and the Bandit 2. Smokey is the Bandit from, again, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Right.
So, I mean, I can't wait to ruin your favorite movie for you.
So
yeah, what if we both hate it? Because Ryan and I have never seen this. What if we both think this is trash?
You're going to ruin my life because
how many robots are in it?
Oh my God. Ladies and gentlemen, I grew up on Smokey and the Bandit. Of all the movies I've ever seen most, I think Smokey and the Bandit is number 1. It is the number 2 highest grossing movie of 1977 after Star Wars. This movie blew up. It was everywhere. The whole world saw Smokey and the Bandit. The fact that you guys haven't is incredible to me. And honestly, if you want to set up a group watch in about an hour's time when I've processed this podcast and uploaded it, we are watching Smokey and the Bandit. But there is also another movie I've only heard of because of Archer.
Yes, that's it. I was going to do the voice.
Obviously. You can just watch that episode of Archer.
Dude, yeah. So Will, what other Burt Reynolds movie are we bringing to the table next time?
We're bringing Gator, man. I don't know anything about this movie.
I'm going in blind.
Is he a Gator? Is Burt Reynolds is the Gator?
And I by a radioactive gator.
Oh, now I'm interested.
I also know that there's a sequel called White Lightning, and again, I only know this because of Archer, which also had Burt Reynolds on the show playing Burt Reynolds. It's insane. But yes, we are bringing 2 Burt Reynolds movies. One that I have seen a million times, and neither of them have seen. They're going in blind, and then we're all going in blind on Gator. As well. So jump on, just watch. Like we always said, one day these guys will listen to us and actually sponsor us, but find out where you can find them. I'm not going to lie, guys. I have a certain amount of trepidation about you watching Smokey and the Bandit, but you
brought this on yourself.
I have seen the, maybe I haven't seen it. Does Smokey and the Bandit have the blooper reel? Or is that Cannonball Run has blooper?
They are all directed by Hal Needham. So I do believe that you will. I think Cannonball Run does have it. I know that Smokey and the Bandit 2 does. I'm pretty sure Smokey and the Bandit does as well.
I don't know.
I feel because I've seen those, so I've seen those a whole bunch. But
well, then if you like Cannonball Run, then you're going to love Smokey and the Bandit because Smokey and the Bandit is better.
I didn't say I love Cannonball Run.
Which one has Sally Field?
Smokey and the Bandit. This is where she's cute as a button, as well. You know what? Interestingly, now you say that the Cannonball Run blooper reel thing, and just Jackie Chan is in that movie. He liked that feature so much. That's why you get all the bloopers in Jackie Chan movies. Yeah. He got it from that movie. He's like, we should do that. That'd be really funny. So guys, all right. So yes, we're heading to Georgia. I'm super excited. I'm also super nervous. But I'm also just so excited because I'm going to get to see one of the coolest cars ever do so much cool car stuff. It's guys, I'm excited. So next time we are going to be heading to the state of Georgia. Check out those movies, guys. Thank you so much, Ryan, especially for bringing Strange Darling into our universe, guys. I hope you go and watch it. I hope you didn't get it spoiled first, and that you've enjoyed us talking about it as well. As always, a little bit like if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you very much. Hit subscribe if you can. Drop a message in the comments that isn't, hey, can we cut your shows better for you?
Want to increase your followers? Well, yeah, but
but also, yeah, if you're listening to us on Spotify and you haven't, do us a favor and review us. If you're listening to us on Apple as well, just do us a favor, like open the app, give us a rating right now. Do us a favor as well, recommend us to a friend that just loves to listen to movie podcasts, because this is what we love to do as well. We're slowly trying to grow our audience, but we do love it when you guys reach out. You can find me as that Englishman in Texas. Well, you'll often find me talking about Texas. Spoiler alert, but I also like to talk about movies. You can find Will as Entitled Millennial. He loves movies more than anyone I've ever met, and he has an absolutely incredible Blu-ray collection. He's very much one of those people that says you must own your physical media, and honestly, he is right. But you'll often find him talking about movies you maybe never have heard of, and you really should be. And when it comes to Ryan, as I've said, he can design some of the best movie posters, some really, really cool movie-themed stuff and everything else, and some great Ed and Stenner stuff that's got him banned from the internet. You can, if you find him as Rhino Digital, RYNO Digital. Don't forget, you can also find us on our Facebook page, The United States of a Movie, and also, every now and again, you can maybe find us on Reddit. But from me, from Will, and from Ryan, as always, thanks for joining us on this episode of The United States of a Movie podcast. We'll see you next time.